I got a message for our fans out there. Football's back. BetOnline's your number one information source for all your sports wagering info with up-to-the-minute stats, news, scores, and matchup breakdowns. Get the latest game odds, spreads, and totals from the NFL and college football at your fingertips with BetOnline's real-time updates on stats, news, and odds. From week 1 all the way to the college football playoffs and Super Bowl, BetOnline is going to give you access to the best football promotions and contests available anywhere online. So head to the website today or use your mobile device. Get in. Welcome to another edition of Bleav in Giants. Bob Papa with two-time Super Bowl champion Carl Banks and another two-time Super Bowl champion Phil Simms. Look, it's Washington week. The Giants are wearing their legacy uniforms. They got the end zones painted like the old Giants Stadium with the blue and the red lettering in there. They got the old Giants helmet at midfield. They wore the road 80s and 90s uniforms on Sunday night against Buffalo. It didn't really work, but we got Phil Simms. Carl, we have to have Phil on for this. This is like perfect.
Absolutely. This was the week that we all look forward to. It was Bill Parcells did his best coaching during that week, so he thought. And he made us all miserable, but we look forward to these games, right, Phil?
Oh yeah, we did, and of course, made it great. We went through a lot, but I started it with Joe Theismann, and I was so excited the first time I beat Joe Theismann. I don't know why I was excited, but I thought it was special. Sorry, Joe. But just everything. Joe Gibbs, all their players, and I don't know about you, Carl, especially when we would go down there and play in DC and play them down there. That stadium, the grass, the fans, all that stuff. I looked forward to going down there and playing a away game just because of that atmosphere. It was so great.
Yeah, it was. And I'll tell you this much, Phil, because I had the great misfortune of having to play there for 1 year when Dan Reeves came. I did not know they hated us so much. That 1 year I fought once a week. And half the teammates didn't speak to me, and I'm like, well, it was personal to us, but I guess because we won so many, they just never let it go. I was never embraced as a teammate. I was like, jeez.
You know what? That's awesome. I would be proud of that.
I am.
We were that much into your head.
Yeah.
And, hey, I'll tell this one. I got to think of the year. 86. We're going down there. It's a big game, and I'm in that runway or whatever the hell was called. And I was getting ready to walk out for the warm up, as we took turns, or, we didn't get to go out in the field early and run around like they do now. That was forbidden. You're not going out there. But Parcells is going to be going out with me. I'm going to go through the dugout, up the steps, walk onto the field. So just before we went through the dugout, Bill stops, looks at me, he goes, Simms, they hate us so much down here, they like us. And I said, okay.
That's so true.
Saints. But the sad thing is, I said, I got it. I understand. So we walk out, in the dugout, we're going up the steps. Not one fan said one word about me. Everything was directed at Bill. Hey, Parcells, you this, you that. And it was hilarious. I mean, it was good. So, but I think there's a lot of truth to that, what he said in its weird way. And it was special playing down there. And, of course, it made it special because we did win a few games playing on their field.
Why did you guys match up so well against them?
I mean, they were probably, in terms of competitors, our most respected. I think we respected them more than anybody because they played hard. It was always the mind of Joe Gibbs versus the mind of Parcells, and then our players versus their players. And we just showed up to play. I mean, they had some crazies on their team. Dexter Manley was a nut, but he did a lot of good play. He had a lot of good plays for him, but it was just one of these opponents where, we matched up well, but we wanted to beat them. And I think we just respected them so much, but not to the point that we would lay down,
No, you're exactly right. I mean, it seemed the formula, Bob, was always the same for our offense. At our stadium, the turf, Joe Morris was going to run crazy. We would go down there, and that was the thing about Bill. And I remember one time we went to whatever. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but Tom Coughlin, like, we don't have enough plays in here. What are we going to do? And of course, we score a bunch of points. We're going across the field, and Tom Coughlin goes, "He's a genius. He's a damn genius." But going down there, our game plan would be this: we won't be able to run it. We got to throw it. It was truly a 180 all the time with the football team. Then we play them in the championship game, Carl. What do? As Bill, I watched one of those documentaries, and all the guys are laughing. Yep, they couldn't run it. We ran. We had a 8-minute and something drive into the or something crazy. Thank God we did, because that was awful that day. But it was the surfaces, and I don't know too. I think our receivers matched up well against their DBs, which really helped too.
Well, let's get into the conditions, Phil, because we talked about it a lot, and the game has evolved, but there are certain quarterbacks that are built for certain weather conditions. You've got, when we played, you had guys that played in Miami and in California, and you could see their numbers were inflated, or even in Denver, but then they come to different environments and they just weren't the same player. How real is that? Like, and then you had the dome quarterbacks too.
Yeah, it's very real. And, as Bernie Kosar said to me after one game, he goes, "Oh, wow." He was being kind of complimentary and whatever. I said, "Bernie, the secret is with this win, which was really a problem today, I knew I was going to be mediocre. Your quarterback hadn't found it out yet." And, it's really, and, wind, cold, whatever it is, rain, when a lot of quarterbacks play in it, it's not going to be the same. You miss passes that you would normally hit 90% of the time, but you're going to miss them because you got to be a little more careful. And you just got to learn to accept that. And over the years, man, we played in so many windy games. Oh my gosh, it was unbelievable. You work all week and you're excited, you run out in the field, and you go, "Oh my God, here we go again." 20-mile-an-hour wind, which was sometimes really good, or that was good. I asked Eli Manning, probably in his 4th year, I'm doing football games, announcing. And I said, "Eli, so how about the wind, man? What was the windiest game you had," or something like that? And he goes, "I don't really know if I've played in a really windy game." And I went, "What?" Carl made me mad.
I'm sure. He played in Green Bay and it was windy as heck down there.
Yeah, there was there, but I mean a giant stadium,
Oh,
so,
yeah.
But, Bill Belichick, every time, Bob, we will be going off the field in warm-ups, and he'd go, "Hey, Sims, what about the other guy here today?" I go, "Oh, Bill, he's a coward. He'll never throw it outside." Which I was telling the truth. And Belichick would look at me and go, "Yeah, I know, you're right." And it would hold true. We would always talk about it. And the wind was always the same at Giant Stadium. I think that was a big plus for us. We knew which direction. I knew where it was going to be really bad on the field, and that helped out a lot too.
Yeah, and I think when you mentioned the Eli part of it, when they built that new press box on the top of the stadium, it definitely changed the wind in Giant Stadium, where it was not as brutal as it was before they built that thing.
Right.
It was a factor. And now we've seen, Carl, when we're on the field with the new stadium, because it's more open air, and now that they've taken down the racetrack, it has definitely changed the wind as how it's coming through the building now. It's almost squarely from the visitors' bench toward the Giants' bench. It's almost consistent now, which is kind of weird. Yeah. Because that track is finally down. They're going to play Washington on Sunday. Phil, obviously the Giants have been struggling here a little bit. We joked about it before we started this. They haven't scored a touchdown in 205 minutes. They've had their chances though in some of these games, like Sunday night against Buffalo. We were talking about the Niners game. How does Daboll get this team kind of going to get this thing across the finish line and come out of this with a win somewhere?
Hey, look, this is where the coach, the old saying, that's where he owns his money, and he earns it, because you got to get him in a state of mind. But look, this is a winnable game for the Giants this weekend. I mean, I watch all the Washington games, and the defense gives up plays. Their pass rush doesn't live up to what they're going to be sometimes. Sam Howell, listen, I like what he's doing, but he's willing to take sacks, and he is an aggressive decision maker and thrower. So there's going to be opportunities for him to win, but I think emotionally that was really big because I played on some bad teams early in my career. And when we got in those situations every once in a while, we were fortunate enough to win. And man, it just lets you relax, have an air of confidence. And we played well the following week after that too. So I think it's good. I think it's going to be tough. And I think there's the decision down on the goal line. I don't even know what to say about all that. I don't know the real story. And honestly, I don't want to know. They just messed it up. And as I talked to one coach who said to me, 17 seconds is the barometer there. It's 17. If it's under 17, you never run the football. That kind of made sense. Seems like a lot of time to me, but this, Coach Daboll, I think he has that personality. It's not a week. And Carl, I want to hear you answer this. It's not a week where you go in there and beat them down.
No,
the effort was tremendous by the Giants the other night. I thought it was tremendous. And if they can show that same effort and enthusiasm, I think they can beat the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, I think you're right, Phil, because they were really bad leading into that Buffalo game. And the coach got them ready to play. I mean, defensively, they had an excellent game plan. They contained Diggs. They contained one of the best arms in football. And then they moved the ball offensively. They had a really good offensive game plan. So you got like 4 key moments in the game that you can point to in the film room and say, this is why we didn't win this game. Let's take that same effort and give us the execution. We can win. And I think the players are looking forward to building on what they accomplished or lack thereof going into this game, because I think they kind of feel better about themselves. The 4 games prior to that, they could be kicked all over the city. But this one, you go toe-to-toe with Buffalo, and you can point to 4 particular plays, and you say, this is why. And you go into Washington and you say, okay, we feel great about ourselves going into this game. Just don't make those mistakes. So I think he's going to be very positive, but I think he's going to emphasize executing the little shit. Like, don't make mental errors. Your offensive lineman, here's a play, even though we called it a certain way, if you just block the guy according to what we audible to, we still score. Things like that.
Yeah. This is, we played for the greatest, I think, one of the greatest of all time psychological coaches in the world ever in football, Bill Parcells. I mean, he played us like these dummies will take it. We're playing the worst team in the league. He was the most honorious, the worst coach in the world that week because he knew we would be flat. And, he wouldn't be sitting there going, oh, boy, that was a moral victory, guys, after the Buffalo game. But he just had a way. He knew what to do. And I think that's the strength of coaching. I think coaching in the NFL has more factors, or, they affect the outcome of games more than any other sport in Major League sport in America. So Coach Daboll, this is a big thing for him. And it really helped to get started well and get the fans going in the right direction too. I always think it kind of helps. And, I don't know if I ever listened to the fans, but just thinking about now and what I do, I think it is important.
Phil, you listen to the fans. I remember it was my rookie year.
Uh-oh.
You were coming off the injury. And this, the old Giant Stadium, that wall was probably 15 feet from my bench, wasn't it?
It was close.
I'd say it's about 20 feet.
No, I would say 15. It was close.
There was some fan that was jaw-jacking, and I look up, and they're going face to face, back and forth, and Phil is letting them have it. And I was like, wow, if that happened today, they talk about you. He doesn't appreciate the fans. Look how he's talking to his fans. But it was, I thought I had never seen it before because I'm a rookie and I'm looking and you're just like in this guy's face and he's leaning over the wall. I was like, yeah, you listen to the fans.
Yeah. Well, when it gets so bad, Carl, sitting on the bench and just, they're just killing me. And I'd say to Phil McConkey, he'd come in front of me. I said, Phil, what role is that guy in and what's he wearing? And McConkey was in the 3rd row. And I would turn around and point at him. I said, shut up. I would, and honestly, I swear, the guy would just sit down and be quiet.
Oh
I
my
want to
God.
see. No, it's terrible. I did that, but
No,
I
it's
know I
not.
do that all the
No,
time.
no, it's not.
Yeah. But Bob, I think about this. Some of the stuff that went on, and Carl knows, and the camera wasn't in the face of the players like it is now. You know, you can't do anything. That they got so many cameras, and they get your if you like, hey, last night, the New Orleans Saints playing, they put a camera right on Derek Carr's face the whole game.
Yeah.
And he was yelling at somebody almost every single play. And then he said, all right, we're off the field. I'll just yell at the coach now. And that was really something. And that could be taken the wrong way too. You know, I'm not going to get on him. Maybe that's how they operate.
Right.
It could be that way. But wow, you know, I think talking to a coordinator or a head coach or anything like that is as much as he did it, that was interesting to say the least.
But you know what, Phil? It's the gift and the curse of access. You know, it's a $14 billion entity, this NFL yearly, and they have increased fan engagement. So they're giving, you know, I knew it was over when they had more access to locker rooms. Then you knew, because fans want to know, and fans feel entitled. And the league wants to give them more. But the conversations that players have with coaches and coaches have with players that cameras never picked up before, they're getting all of it now. Yeah. Like, you know, they caught us, they caught you, they caught me screaming at Parcells every once in a while. But if they caught most of the stuff that was said, people would be clutching their pearls. It's legitimately, like, I mean, there's F-bombs going back and forth, and then you go out and you go to the next series, right? But that is like, if that happened today with the access, I think people would clutch their pearls. They would be either anti-player or anti-coach. You got to fire this guy. You can't talk to a player that way, or player, you can't talk to a coach that way, but that's how we operate it. And in a lot of situations, it's how they operate now.
Well, you know, too, I hate to, you know, there's so many things to that. Bob, you were around so much, you know, too. Look, there was an open dialogue created by our head coach.
Yeah.
Oh, he would yell at you. He had guys that he would pick on. He had to have somebody every day to put the message through the team. And every once in a while you'd yell back at him and he'd go, oh, are you mad at me? Just doing everything. Oh, you mad at me? You like to hit me? And I go, really? He did it to me once, many times. I go, there's something wrong with you. And I tell other quarterbacks some of these confrontations that I had with him and how they started, whatever. And I know they don't believe me. I'm just saying, man, I'm telling you, it's true. Once you yelled back at him, he knew he had you. Oh, yeah. I got you. Yeah. And it was really, you know, and I hear this, Carl and Bob, this, you know, Parcells couldn't coach in today's game. I said, no, dude, that is the stupidest thing you could ever say. He knew how to get to everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. He coached some guys after he left he coached a few with the Giants, that's for sure. I'm not going to name any names. I'll just give an initial, LT. But every team, he had that group of guys that were going to, you know, they were going to have conflicts, Bob and Carl, that he was going to speak to the team. And I think it made the relationship between the player and coach really different than a lot of teams had. That's for sure.
So, Phil, you and your son have a podcast, Sims Complete. You and Matthew have one on Bleav. And we were talking before we started the show. You and Carl speak out of the same brain because you said, you know, you got these. So now we have amateur psychologists in the media that are trying to read body language when there's a confrontation. And then all the stuff gets thrown out there. I know both of you guys get really riled up about some of the stuff that you're seeing put out there that fans are taking as gospel when it could be furthest from the truth.
Well, I'll answer that easily. Fans know two things: what they read and what they hear. Mm-hmm. That's it. So, what else are they going to know? So the information going out, as I always say, when I did this job, somebody said, are you going to be able to criticize the players and coaches? I said, I'm going to tell the truth. The players and coaches deserve the truth for them, because I know what it's like and how hard it is. And why would I do anything else? And yes, see, you know, and people just make these statements just immediately after games on Monday, and they just destroy players. They really do on TV.
Yeah.
It tells me all the time, you got to quit watching TV. I said, no, it gives me energy to keep working and to talk against them. I don't know if anybody listens, but that's what I love about the podcast.
Yeah.
A list of things. Oh man, and my son goes, Dad, we can't do an hour of angry talk.
Sure you can.
Well, yeah, we can.
Yeah. So to that point, Phil, when certain people start to criticize players for certain things, and I wanted to get into this from a quarterback perspective because the game has changed. It's evolved. It's open, and there's a lot going on. But there's also this fascination with the mobile quarterback, and I get it. But I think, just my opinion, and we're starting to see it play out, the quarterback position is not going to be valued because these guys don't stay healthy enough because they run them so much, right? You got Justin Fields is out. The kid that played last night, Jacksonville, he was in a knee brace.
Anthony Richardson's done.
Richardson's out for the year. And I get it. The mobility makes you more multiple. But I've even noticed Philadelphia is not doing as many RPOs. So it's like that quarterback probably said, look, I can't keep taking these hits if you want me to, to function. So when you see these quarterbacks that are impacted by getting hit a lot, and I'm not just talking Daniel Jones, because Joe Burrow had the same issue. He still does. He's just managing it a little better. They get hit a lot. The decision-making gets impacted.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to talk about that probably really early in the show on Sunday. There's a couple of things. Scoring's down the NFL. I read a great article yesterday. A guy was, why is it down? Well, the way defenses are playing, there's so many reasons. But one of the reasons why the big plays in the pass game, guys don't give it a chance. And he wrote about he goes, hey, we had Pete Manning, Troy Aikman, all these guys, Phillip Rivers, they were going to throw the ball and the scoring and everything else. But now, when in doubt, give it a quick and run for 5. And everybody goes, that's great. We got 5. Well, you just passed up a 30-yard completion because you didn't look. And we got a lot of young quarterbacks in the league too right now playing, Carl and Bob. And I think that's a big factor. And there's so many factors why this is getting tougher and tougher. But defensive players, my gosh, if you're a linebacker now, if you don't run 4.4 or mid 4.4s or 4.5, you can't play. And they're really, I see it every week. I go, wow, probably a safety, but playing linebacker.
Yeah.
Just because we got so many big people on the defensive front. Teams are spending more money on defensive linemen. They got better depth there. And then they're going against offensive line. Athletically, they're not as good. And old linemen, they got to make a rule. They got to put more of them on the roster.
And also allow them to develop too. I mean, these kids that come out,
got to play.
They've been playing 7-on-7 since junior high school, and they participate in these camps. There's really no development in terms of their fundamentals. And I think also, Phil, and you would know better than I think offenses in the NFL are great from 20 to 20. When the field shortens, their options shorten, and the defenses, because I noticed that's when Wink Martindale was good last year. Like if he could get them into the red zone, they played better when the field was shorter. But when you don't match well personnel-wise with the way these offenses are operating, once the field shrinks, they don't have the same amount of options.
Well, and I honestly look at numbers about certain things in the game, all the analytics. I look into them maybe once every 7-8 weeks. I say, let me see just if it backs up one of my dumb theories or whatever. And that, what you're saying, it's big time. It's scoring in the red zone is really down. Scoring's down. So, that tells me, I'm like, well, where are analytics to say that 3 points is really important? Still turn that field goal down right, left, everywhere. And it's such a big. Even last night, I was looking at it going, man, for most of the game, it looked like it was not going to be much scoring or whatever. But kicking that field goal, it's amazing. I sit there in that studio every Sunday, and it's like a disease. It's 4th and 2. We got to go for it. Well, the damn game is physical. Nobody's moving the ball. The scoring is low, but we got to get 7. And it's amazing how many times it comes to be the difference in the game. And I just say, I hate hearing about all the analytics. I just say, well, there's got to be a number there that tells you to kick the field goal every once in a while too.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's out there, but let's go back 20 years and say, well, back 20 years ago, I don't know. It drives me a little crazy to talk about it sometimes, but I know kicking that field goal, it's important, Bob, Carl, to drive the ball down the field. And if you kick a field goal, there's a sense of accomplishment.
Yes.
It does change who you are on that sideline. Sure. And to miss the field goal or not go for it, not get the 4th down, you just go, man, that was a lot of work and a lot of good plays for nothing.
Yeah.
So that's where another way I look at it too.
Well, and just kind of like circling back to the Giants here a little bit with this game, Phil, you watch all these games. Carl and I talk about it all the time. I watch all the games, not studying the coach's tape and watching all of them. But, one of the problems that the Giants have had this year, and we talk about it all the time, is you watch these games on Sunday. At some point in time, your best players have to make some plays above the X's and O's.
Yeah.
Right.
Where, listen, I'm not blaming that the Giants lost the game on one player or whatever, but on that 4th down play, I watched games all Sunday afternoon. Darius Slayton's got to make that catch, right? It hits him in the chest, doesn't really get his hands on it, can't secure it. And even on the Waller play in the back of the end zone, being held or whatever, the top tight end or the difference makers are the guys that somehow get that tug off them, chop them or whatever, and then elevate and make the play. And they haven't made enough above X's and O's plays that happen every Sunday to the teams that are winning.
Hey, look, I think teams win so many games just for this aspect. Who's got the guys that can make the plays to win the game? How many? And if you count them up on each team, it's no accident. One team, I have 7 guys that can win the game just by their performance. And then we talk about other teams that can't win. Well, they have 1 or 2, and it's hard to overcome. And all that is really true. You're right. You got to somebody every once in a while. Somebody make a play.
Yeah,
it's real. And
it's real. And the one thing that always sticks out to me, and I use it with my kids and a lot of people, even on the golf course. I say, I think it was Belichick used to say it all the time. You know what? With your skill set and ability, I know it ain't gonna be easy, but a guy with your skill set and ability, you should be able to make that freaking play.
Oh, that's
so you look at the Darren Wallers of the world, and you say, hey, I understand. He held you the whole way. But geez, a guy with your skill set and ability, I think I've seen you make plays better than this. You got to come down with that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And it's a really interesting situation, but that really, as we're talking about all this, and it just tells you teams that can win on a pretty consistent basis, it is true. They just have better guys.
They have guys that can make a play when you need one.
When they can do it, yes. And then the coach, listen, not only they make the play and all that stuff, but the coach is helping them too. And
sure.
Just like the red zone. Have you ever seen Andy Reid? I know do they ever, once they get probably inside the 15-yard line, do you ever see him getting a 2-back formation, just hand it off the running back right off tackle? No. He's going to do everything else because he knows he doesn't have that kind of team where he can just line up and smash it up in there. And he never does that. He doesn't waste a down there. It's this. Of course, I think the number one thing, Carl, if you were playing against Andy Reid, you'd say, hey, let's be alert for a shovel pass.
Yeah, exactly. But Andy's figured it out.
I guess Jerick McKinnon's going to get a shovel pass at some point around the 7-yard line.
Well, how about we do this really ingenious thing for the Chiefs? Travis, act like you're blocking and let them all run away, and then you just drift, and we'll throw it to you and you'll score every time.
It's Andy's figured it out because he uses the entire field. And he understands down in that red zone, they're playing some kind of matchup coverage. So if he can create some kind of conflict, but all his razzle-dazzle, he'll get a guy free. All these other guys, they just compact it in because they don't have 20 yards to work.
I talk to college and high school coaches, quite a bit during the off season, and they'll say something to me like that. Oh, the red zone, we have so, and I said, hey, you ever watched, I give them the Kansas City story. I said, when you get down there, you got to do something different. You just can't line up and run your base plays anymore like this league now. And as we get through the conversation, they go, yeah, I'm going to start doing that. Because I don't know why more people don't do it. I mean, it's pretty good down there, but it's, as you've talked about, Carl, Bob, you're on top of some of these statistics and everything like that. The red zone, it's become very, very hard to score in it for teams right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bill,
Well, Phil,
go ahead, Carl.
We got Washington.
Yep.
Friday practice. What are you feeling? What do you like?
Oh, it's great.
It's a legacy game, and Bill is wired up. What are you feeling at practice on a Friday before Washington?
Well, first of all, the one thing I do remember is you guys would be in full pads on a Friday. Now I don't even know if they have a shell on.
Hey guys, here's what we're doing today. I'm going to let you take the pads out of your pants. But if you screw me, I'll never let you do it again. Oh, Bill, you're so nice.
You're the best.
Don't forget to take my thigh pad and knee pad out. Oh, my God. But you know what? This is true. Fridays, you feel great because your game plan is awesome. The energy is off the charts. The practice, it always would go well on those Fridays and everything. And everybody kind of understood their role and what we were doing in the practice. So it was awesome. And you had the feeling that there's just no way we can screw this up.
Yeah.
Now, of course, sometimes we did, and that's the way the NFL is. But the atmosphere, the feeling, and the emotion was all right to at least give you a great chance to go win the game.
Yeah, and I think for us, we were, you naturally get fired up playing Washington, but that Friday was doing your mental checklist. They used to run those overplays or, run the quarterback to one side and they send Ricky,
no.
What was the kid? Art Monk and what was Ricky Sanders?
Ricky Sanders, yeah.
Yeah, they'd run quarterback one way and Sanders is running the opposite way across the field, and we got to make sure, our backside guys are where they're supposed to be. So Bill will put 4 of those in during the course of practice just to make sure we're sharp and looking for it. But it was a lot of fun, man, getting ready for that game. And the Friday, I think the intensity level for us, because we knew it was going to be a physical game, you just mentally just got yourself ready to play that game and didn't want to miss an assignment because they were like, that was the one thing about Washington. They were like clockwork, though. Once you knew what they were doing, they had a wrinkle or two, but you pretty much had it. You just had to stay mentally sharp.
And, I think too, Bob and Carl, I think one thing, the coach on the other sideline was always a part of inspiration, I think, too. It was Gibbs. I mean, my God. We know he was a great coach, but the fact that he was there, you felt like that was part of it too. I went against Joe Gibbs. It wasn't me.
Yeah, exactly.
And we were to a degree in his head too.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah,
we were.
You beat him enough.
Oh man, I got on the bus once, and they had the local radio station on the bus after the game. We're down there, and Gibbs just comes in. Oh man, I've seen this story before, and he would be really honest and truthful. It was I'll just look around and go, I can't believe he's saying some of these things. And, it was very nice and about us and how whatever that was really interesting. But
so I'm going to ask you about this game in this regard. Washington, they can get after the quarterback in spurts, right?
Right.
But they've given up 13 pass plays already through 6 games of 30 or more yards. 5 of them gone for touchdowns. Right. They've already given up 6 pass plays of 50 plus. We're only 6 games into the season for them. The Giants, we know they haven't excuse me. The Giants, we know they haven't thrown a touchdown pass since the Arizona game. It's been 244 minutes and 25 seconds. How do you go about taking advantage of what appears to be a weakness for them when it's not your strength?
Things like this made me nervous because I go, wow, this is a game I should be getting some big plays and do well. and you were, what if I don't, or something like that. But hey, they overplay on the defensive back, the secondary. They think they got Darryl Green out there sometimes, and I watch them. And I don't study Washington really close because we don't ever get to cover them on CBS. But that forget the pass rush not living up to the greatness that we all expect, but corners way too aggressive, I thought. And I think that Chicago game, that it was so bad. And I watched their Atlanta game pretty close. And man, Desmond Ridder at the beginning of the game, I thought, damn, he looks like Dan Marino back there. He's hitting everything.
Yeah.
And then it fell apart because Washington kind of adjusted a little. So Jack Del Rio, I mean, he's been in the league a long time. I'm really surprised that he's allowed his defense to get put in situations where they give up all those big plays. And it's got to give the Giants a little confidence. And the other thing is Tyrod Taylor, he's going to break that pocket as fast as he can. And I think he should. If you see a little gap, go through it right away. Don't even look down the damn field. Move and make the throws that way. So,
yeah.
But double moves, oh my gosh. They went for him so much early in this season. And the bad thing for the Giants, they've done it so many times, they might be more careful this time, and Tyrod might get some easy completions. I'm going to guess Tyrod Taylor's going to play. I can't imagine Daniel Jones going out.
So I got two observations. I think Saquon Barkley factors big in both phases of this game that will allow them to do some of the downfield stuff. But also, Jalen Hyatt, Phil, is the best pure catcher of the football on the team. And I saw in the Buffalo game, he had a go route. He had the safety in the corner beat by a couple steps. And the ball was thrown, and it landed behind the defenders. I'm like, he's a guy that you got to throw anticipation throws to and just let him run up under it, because you can't throw it far enough for him. I mean, he's really fast, but I saw the crossing route, and I'm like, he goes in, grabs it, gets down, tucks. I'm like, he's the best pure catcher.
Yeah, that fourth down catch he had. Yeah, that was because he knew the hit was coming.
But I think they got to be intentional about getting him the football.
Hey, that's the way it should be. It really should. If they've never done that this year, you have to pick a couple guys and just go, we're going to get the ball to Darren Waller, Jalen Hyatt. I mean, geez. I don't know how many times I'm not going to go in the old stories, but Sims, hey, just throw it to Bavaro, would you? Just throw it to him.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, sometimes that is true. You just
guys that can make a play, though. That's what we were just talking about. The guy,
right.
Hey, look, don't throw it to this guy because he can't make it unless he's wide open. This guy here, he can make a play for you.
Yeah. It's so so many things. But I mean, really, when you look at the Giants, Saquon, but who are we going to next? I think, Carl, you've said that really well said. And I'm getting pretty confident about this game now as we're talking. I feel better about the Giants. I do. Well, I'm serious. And, and then people always ask me, do you still root for the Giants? And I said, come on. Of course I do. And I'm going to follow the Jets too, because I hear I run into Jet fans around here all the time also. So I follow the two local teams. No exaggeration. The first thing I do every Monday morning, probably around 8:30, I watch the Giant game first. If they play on Sunday, of course.
Yeah.
I watch that because I know I'm going to get inundated with Giant and all the things I do. Yeah. So I'm ready for it. So
as you're sitting in the studio on Sunday, as we're coming to the end of this, are you gonna? I mean, will a burst of at least a little nostalgia, even though you're at work and you're watching all these games 1 o'clock, but when you see those end zones and you see those uniforms, will a little bit, will you get nostalgic just for a second when you see it visually?
Absolutely. Just the fact the Giants wore those uniforms in Buffalo, I saw it. I said, man, I love those uniforms. Yeah. I don't think we looked as good in them as they do, but man, they look good. And no doubt. Listen. Yeah. Memories and thoughts like that, Bob and Carl, we all know they never go away. And and especially when you're playing a rival that's just been part of the history of the Giants so much. Sure, it's going to be, of course, what we're going to say in my household. They should do these all the time.
Yeah, I hear that a lot too.
Of course.
But it is great to see the throwback jerseys with teams. Some of them are going back to throwbacks. I never remember wearing what they're wearing, but whatever. But the giant uniforms, that giant name on the helmet. Look, I still love that much more than I do the NY. And I'm not just being a guy because I wore it. No, I just like the look of it better. That's me.
There you go. Now, just in wrapping up here, did you guys ever talk about the fact that, Phil, obviously you won the MVP of Super Bowl 21. I'm going to Disneyland or whatever. But the guy that I'm hosting this show with could have easily been the MVP. He had like one of those Walt Frazier to Willis Reed kind of games.
Well, he had that the whole playoffs. I mean, Jesus. I mean, the San Francisco game, I can see him shooting through, getting Roger Craig in the backfield for a 6-yard loss or something. And, Carl, I got to admit, of course, you're out there playing defense and I'm over there and I kind of watch, but, you're just all over the place. And then I've watched all those games and I just go, damn, Carl was killing it. And I believe it, yes, Carl was, if we gave an MVP for the 86 playoff run, it wouldn't have been close. Carl would have won it. And even John Madden would. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Have you listened to the games? John Madden once said, and it took courage for him to say this. He goes, listen, everybody talks about Lawrence Taylor, but the best linebacker in football right now is Carl Banks. And when I heard it on TV, I went, oh my God, that's blasphemy. But for him to say that, because he loved Lawrence, for him, that meant I just told you, not only were you doing it, but you were doing it at an extreme level where he had to say it, which is pretty cool.
So, but that game, I think both of our performances were necessary for us to win.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we had to have a great game on offense. We had to have a great game on defense. And, as the old saying, somebody's got to make a play. So I just made a bunch of them, and so did you,
Yeah. As I watched it a couple times, the game, I said, oh, watch what's on. And I just go, wow, it's amazing. The game was so much closer than I thought.
Yeah.
Remember, you just play and you're not, but it's, that play, if that didn't happen, man, we could have been in trouble. And just just me looking at the other side, I look at the Denver Broncos, man, they were loaded with players on the defensive side. I never realized that. I didn't. And I'm glad I didn't realize it. Because, you feel free. Oh, they're not that good. But I think they would have most of the year. They didn't give up 20 points a game, right, Bob?
They were good.
Yeah. And then we played them in 86 at our place. Shoot, we didn't do anything. We were just hanging in there with them. The George Martin interception and our whatever it was, 3rd and 20 something, and we hit. I don't even know who I hit over the middle. But the last drive of the game, they were a good football team, very well coached. And Dan Reeves, when he came to the Giants, still hadn't forgotten some of those things.
All right. Well, we got to wrap it up again. Sims Complete is part of the Bleav Podcast Network. Matthew Sims and Phil, although Matthew told me that his wife wants him to be referred to as Matt. So.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I heard. So he said, no, you can just call me Matt. I always call him Matthew.
You got his wife calling you. Wow.
No, not calling me. He told me that directly.
Oh, he told me. Okay.
He told me that. No,
it is. Listen, I understand, Carl, you're right. And Bob, you do a great job. It is true about these podcasts. Sometimes I don't care if anybody listens. At least I feel better when I get to say what I want to say.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
you mean as opposed to Carl having to squeeze in during a radio broadcast 8 seconds of analyst, because I got to do a lot of talking on radio. It's not TV. Yeah. TV is the analyst forum. Radio is the play-by-play guy who does most of the talking.
Yeah.
So this is liberating. And hey Phil, we need you to give a thought here on the Chargers, and then a quick thought on the Seahawks. Give me like 12 seconds. Because then coaches got to go, and then Boomer's got to say something. Good luck with that.
I won't get it, but look, like an opening thing. They, usually they want it under 25 seconds or 25. That's our big number, but that's a big one when you get 25. Otherwise, it's usually just one little tiny whatever. And I'm not complaining, but I'll have a page of notes, and so I'll time it, Carl, and I'll just go, "Wow, that was like 50 seconds." Let me get rid of this and this. Okay. No. I just 35. Oh hell, I'm
So that's why the Bleav Podcast Network
That's
is
where it
a
comes
great
through, yeah.
relief for everybody.
Yeah.
and
It
you know,
is.
one last thing. And you
Yeah.
know, of course, I sit across from this other guy. Boomer, that's his name.
Yeah.
And he's on radio, so you know, he talks endlessly, like, oh my God. And he carries that over to the TV sometimes, and time it gets to me, Phil, really hurry, be quick. Whatever they said, I go the opposite, and that's it. It's unbelievable.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
So we appreciate a couple
All right,
minutes here
Thank
this
you,
morning.
Phil.
all right, Carl, good seeing you, man.
All right, you too, man.
Again,
All righty.
Sims Complete on the Bleav Podcast Network. Carl, how do we like to end this thing?
Tell a friend to tell a friend.
We'll be back next week with another edition of Bleav in Giants.